Hi, hello. Welcome to another session of English with SK in rrbuddy.com, the ultimate destination for online classes. My dear students, do you know which is the longest word in English language? All of you try to get the answer. I will tell you the answer at the end of the lesson. Okay? All the best. Dear students, today our concept is if clause. Before learning about the concept if clause, we will try to recapitulate certain basics which we have learnt in our earlier classes. Students, you know that there are 26 alphabets in English language. This alphabet forms the words forms the sentences, and sentences forms the paragraphs, and paragraph forms the passages. Right. So, do you know what is a sentence? Yes, a sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete meaning. Example, Dhanush is a good boy. Clear? Now, there are certain things you have to know more about a sentence. First one, subject. Subject means the person or a thing that does something. Example, Manu plays cricket. Here Manu is the subject of the sentence. Verb. A word that expresses any action, occurrence or state of being is called a verb. Example, Ravi plays cricket. Here plays is the verb. Third one, object. A person or thing that receives the action of a verb is called an object. Example, Rani plays cricket. Here in the sentence, cricket is the object. Do you understand, children? Right. Now, let us learn the word order in English language. Subject plus verb plus object. Let us understand the concept of word order with an example. He reads books. Here, he is the subject, reads is the verb, and books is the object. So, here the word order in English language is SVO, that is subject, verb, object. Okay? Did you understand the word order? Right. Every sentence has two parts. They are the subject and the predicate. Now let us understand the concept of subject and the predicate of a sentence. The monkey ate a banana. This is a sentence. In this sentence, the monkey is the subject. Ate a banana is the predicate. Subject means here noun or a pronoun or a noun phrase. It indicates the noun, pronoun or a noun phrase. Whereas the predicate indicates the verb or the verb phrase. What the subject is doing is indicated by the predicate. I hope you understood the concept of subject and the predicate of a sentence. So, every sentence has two parts, that is the subject and predicate. The phrase in the clause. Let us understand the phrase in the clause with suitable examples. Prior to that, what is a phrase? Let us understand what is a phrase. A phrase is a group of words without subject verb combination. A group of words which make sense but not complete sense is called a phrase. There is no subject verb combination in a phrase. Whereas the clause is a group of words which forms part of a sentence and contains a subject and a predicate is called a clause. In a clause, there is a subject verb combination. Here, let us see the examples for a phrase. In the east, sat on a wall. Here, in the east, what is that? In the east? Is there any complete sense in it? No. There is no complete sense in it, as well as there is no subject verb combination. Hence, such type of sentences are called phrases. Now, let us see about the clause. The example 1. In the east, in the phrase, to that phrase we are going to add the sun. The sun rises in the east. See here, there is a meaning in it. It has a complete sense. Hence, that is called a what? Clause. The sun rises in the east. Sun. The sun is the subject here, followed by rises is the verb. Subject and verb combination is there. Therefore, it is called a clause. One more sentence I told you in the phrase part. That is sat on a wall. There is no complete meaning in it. But the same thing we'll consider in the clause case. Here what happens? We'll add sat something to that one. Sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. See here, Humpty Dumpty, subject, sat, a verb, subject and verb combination is there, and it has the sentence has a complete meaning. Therefore, it is called a clause. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Clear? Understood the concept of the phrase and the clause? In the phrase, there is no subject verb combination, whereas in the clause you have the subject verb combination. A group of words which makes some sense, little sense, but not complete sense is called a phrase. But whereas in clause, it is a group of words which forms part of sentence and contains a subject and predicate is called a clause. A clause has the subject verb combination. You understand, children? Types of clauses. There are mainly two clauses here. Here, first one is the independent clause or main clause. The second one is the dependent clause or the subordinate clause. What is independent clause or the main clause? Independent clause makes complete sense on its own. Example, he plays cricket regularly. Manu ate a cheese roll. That means the sentence which gives complete sense, the clause which gives some complete sense is called the independent clause or the main clause. Whereas the dependent clause depends on another clause to make complete sense. Therefore, it is also called as a subordinate clause. You can understand the dependent clause or the subordinate clause with an example. See here, whenever you finish writing, it is a clause, but there is no complete sense for the clause. Is it there any meaning in it? Yes, but there is no complete meaning. Hence, it is called a dependent clause. It depends on another clause to get a complete sense. Therefore, you have to add you can go whenever you finish writing. Hence, it will become complete sensible sentence. So here you can go is the independent clause, whereas whenever you finish writing will become the dependent clause or the subordinate clause. Okay. Similarly, you can take some other examples like I hate to drink tea because it upsets my stomach. Here, because it upsets my stomach is the dependent clause, whereas the I hate to drink tea is the independent clause. One more example we'll consider. You have to finish your homework. Okay, there is a meaning in it. Isn't it, children? Complete sense is there. It is called an independent clause. So, to that one, if you write before you go to bed, it will become a dependent clause. Before you go to bed, you have to finish your homework will be the complete meaningful sentence. So here, before you go to bed is the dependent clause, whereas you have to finish your homework will be the independent clause. I think you got the difference between the independent clause and the dependent clause. Let us try to sum up the clauses. Independent clause is also called as the main clause. Dependent clause is also called the subordinate clause. In independent clause, it makes a complete sense on its own, whereas in the dependent clause, it depends on another clause to make complete sense. Okay, you understand the types of clauses. After learning the types of clauses, that is the dependent clause and the independent clause, let us try to understand the concept of if clause. If clause is also called as conditional clause or conditional tense. Now, let us understand the meaning of if clause. If these things happen, that thing will happen. ఇది అయితే అది కూడా అవుతుంది అనే అర్థంలో if this happens, if these things happen, that thing will happen. That is the meaning of if clause. Here, in if clause, there are three parts. Let us understand the three parts with a suitable example. If you work hard, you will get first class. If you work hard, you will get first class. Here, let us understand the three parts of this sentence. If is the conjunction. You work hard is the action. It is also called as the subordinate clause or the dependent clause. If is the conjunction, first part. The second part is the action part. You work hard. This action part is also called as a subordinate clause or the dependent clause. And the third part is the result part. You will get first class is the result part. This is also the independent clause or the main clause. Hence, three parts are there. In the if clause, there are three parts. If you work hard, you will get first class. If is the first part, that's conjunction. Second part of the clause is your action. You work hard. Third is the result. You will get first class. Types of if conditions. First one, possible or probable condition, impossible or improbable condition. Third one, unfulfilled condition. Fourth one, zero condition or real condition. The first type of if condition is the possible condition or the probable condition. Possible condition A condition is something which must have or to be happen or to be done in order for something else to be possible. So here the chances of 80% will be there in this condition. The structure of the condition is as follows. If place simple present comma simple future. The structure if plus subject plus v1 or v5 plus object, subject plus will, shall, can, may plus v1 plus object. This is the structure of possible condition. Let us understand by a simple example. If she sings well, she will get the prize. So here the possibility is of 80% of getting the prize. If she sings well, she will get the prize. The second type of condition, impossible condition or improbable condition. A condition that was not fulfilled in the past is called impossible condition or the improbable condition. It is only 20% possibility is there in this type of condition. Here the structure is if plus simple past, comma, future condition tense. If plus subject plus v2 plus object, subject plus would, should, could, might plus v1 plus object. Example, if she sang well, she would get the prize. If she sang well, she would get the prize. Third condition, that is unfulfilled condition. Here the possibility is 0% only. These clauses contain a condition that was not fulfilled in the past. The structure is like this. If plus subject plus had plus v3 plus object, subject plus would have, could have plus v3 plus object. Example, if she had sung well, she would have got the prize. The fourth condition, zero condition. Here the possibility is 100%. Zero condition is used to talk about facts which are always true. Here truths, facts, scientific issues are considered. Structure if plus simple present, simple present. If plus subject plus v1 v5 plus object, subject plus v1 or v5 plus object. Example, if people eat too much, they get fat. If babies are hungry, they cry. Exercise for practice. Rewrite the following sentences as a single sentence. Use if at the beginning of the sentence. First one, work hard, you will get success. After work hard, you have full stop. You have to begin the sentence with if. If you work hard, after hard, instead of full stop, place comma. You will get success. After full stop, you have YOU. Y is in capital. So you have to change the capital Y in small y to small y. What will happen finally? If you work hard, comma, you will get success. So like this you have to change the sentence beginning with if. Next, walk fast, you will catch the bus. So we have to start the begin the sentence with if. If you walk fast, you will catch the bus. Similarly, in the first sentence, as I explained, after fast you have to place comma. Why should be small case? You have to, as it is at the end of the sentence, place full stop after bus. If you walk fast, comma, you will catch the bus. Next one. Give respect to others. They too will respect you. So start the sentence with if. If you give respect to others, comma, they will respect you. Capital T will become small t. Next. It does not rain. I will come to your house. Start with if. If it does not rain, comma, instead of full stop, place comma, I will come to your house. Capital I will be same in the answer also. There's no change. If it does not rain, I will come to your house. Next, last one. Stop eating sweets. You'll feel better. If you stop eating sweets, you will feel better. Capital Y will become small y. After sweets, place comma. Okay, so like this you have to use if at the beginning of the sentence. I hope you have understood the lesson. Dear students, at the beginning of the lesson, I have asked you one question. That is, which is the longest word in English language? The answer for it is pneumono ultramicroscopic silico volcanoconiosis. This is the longest word in any of the major English language dictionaries, and it contains 45 letters, a word that refers to a lung disease contracted from the inhalation of very fine silica particles, especially from a volcano. Medically, it is the same as silicosis.